Okay, so you learned how to count atoms earlier this week. So now we're going to kind of move on to something a little bit more with that. So let's talk about balanced chemical equations, counting atoms before and after a chemical reaction. So now it's not just counting atoms, it's counting atoms, a chemical reaction happens, and then counting atoms again to see if what we have before is what we have after. Okay, so based off of what you learned earlier this week, go ahead and pause this right now and count out these atoms. And then you can come back and see if you got them right. Okay, let's see. Let's see if you got them right. So we have carbon, there's one, oxygen, one. Good. Let's check your math. How are you doing so far? That was a big one. How'd you do? Let's move on. Ooh, do you remember this? You guys went over this in 7th grade with me. I went over it with you. Take a look at it. This is giving you a hint. It's photosynthesis. If you remember, photosynthesis uses molecules from the environment. In the chloroplast, chemical reactions happen and changes it into something else. Is this balanced? Okay, so you're going to count atoms before this chemical reaction happens, and then I want you to count atoms after. Okay? So let's count them together. Okay. So we're going to start here on the left side and just kind of work our way to the right. We're going to write out our atoms first, our elements. The type of atoms is an element. So write those out first. Okay? Carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, oxygen. I know oxygen is here again, but let's just keep these separate for simplicity's sake, and then we'll merge them together in a little bit. For now, let's not look at this coefficient. Let's just count, and then we'll change it in a minute here. So there's one carbon, two oxygen. Now let's multiply with this coefficient, okay, because there's 6 molecules of carbon dioxide. This is carbon dioxide. And this means that there's 6 molecules of that carbon dioxide, so we're going to multiply by 6. Okay? Now let's move on to this part of the reactant. Let's leave that out for now. 2 hydrogen, 1 oxygen. Okay, so now let's bring in the coefficient. There's 6 molecules of water. And so these are the amount of atoms that we end up with. So let's simplify this. Let's bring in those oxygens together. Okay? So 6 carbon, 12 hydrogen, 18 oxygen. Now let's work on this side. Let's see what we have over here. We're going to write them out first. Okay, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and then our oxygen over here. All right. So we don't have a coefficient in the front, so we can just go to work counting some atoms. Okay. And now let's take a look over here. There is a coefficient, so let's kind of ignore it for now. Okay, so this means that there's 2. So the 6 means that there was 6 molecules of oxygen. So let's multiply this by 6. Okay, so let's simplify the products. Oh goodness, look at this. We have 6 carbon on both sides, 12 hydrogen on both sides, and 18 oxygen on both sides. So this means that it's balanced. The amount of matter that started out before the chemical reaction is the same amount of matter after the chemical reaction. Okay? So this chemical reaction, if you guys remember a chemical change, it turns something into something new. So when a chemical reaction, matter can't be created or destroyed, it just gets rearranged. Okay? So we have equal sides. Yay! Okay, so let's look at this here. Work these out with what you've learned this week. Go ahead and pause it, but I do want to show you that this is an example of what you're doing, okay? This is an example of a balanced equation. You're going to count up your atoms before this chemical change and then after, and then see if everything matches up, balanced or unbalanced, and then we'll decide. Okay, this is your first one, second one, so you have 5 to do. So go ahead and pause the video. Okay, so now that you've worked them out and you've decided that if they were balanced or unbalanced, let's see if you were right. Okay. Oh, unbalanced. Okay. There was not enough oxygen. Unbalanced. Okay. There were too many oxygen. Okay. Unbalanced. So over here we start off with 2 oxygen. We only end up with 1. There's 1 sodium, but we end up with 2. That's not balanced. This next one is balanced. Good. And the last one is unbalanced. Okay. So now you're going to go back to Schoology and you're going to do an assessment. And you're going to determine if these equations, there's an equal sign there, if these equations are balanced or if they're not balanced. And that's what you're going to be checking for in the assessment. Okay, use your notes. Okay, good luck.